concern of a Rise versus a tank-heavy team. And you already have this super beefy front line being picked up. And when you don't have backline access from your mid laner, as this Rise, you have to use this line skill shot of your Q to get most of your damage out. It's all blocked up by this super tanky front line. You often are not putting out the kind of pressure you need to, but okay.
A pretty aggressive team from Misfits here. Really just that Yasuo of aggression from Alfari, but he brings in the Rumble, only having played tanks here at Worlds.
Caitlyn as well coming in now from SKT. They did not show AD carry in the first phase. They lost the two main late game carries they like to pick for Bang, and it goes over to Caitlyn. It's not with the Janna, who is sitting there and just perma pushing the lane 24/7, but Trundle is still more than fine down in this bot lane here to still play this very aggressive early laning from Caitlyn.
And it still could be a more traditional support, but it is going to be that flex pick Trundle support. Jace up in the top side into the Rumble. That's somewhere where there might be a lot of jungle attention because it is this carry versus carry matchup. But it's very clearly a focus on the early team fights for Misfits with the Taric, with the Rumble ultimate, using J4 to actually set up that equalizer very well. But I think that SKT are going to have some very strong lanes and going to be able to kind of withstand that perhaps already with the Galio. You have a pushing bot lane with the advantage of Caitlyn. You have advantages on the top side as well.
I think that's why Power Vivo's saying, you know what, screw it. I don't care about late game. I need something early game that can try and snowball my team here. Goes for this Rise pick. We have to remember that Galio could still swap to top, which is where it's sitting at the moment. And you put the Jace mid. We saw Xiaohu early in the tournament take the Jace specifically against the Rise in that mid lane. So SKT have that option still.
Yeah, and building into something like the Adaptive Helm as well as the Abyssal Mask on the Galio into the Rumble matchup can make it very hard for Rumble to really kind of push those advantages. And Rumble is a pushing champion if you're going to be pushing in, but not relevant as they have a swap out there. So will be Galio mid as is the more standard, and I think works better in general because of the access to both of the side lanes.
Also gives a very strong top lane for both teams to actually play around. It's not the standard tank be tank up there. Both junglers can definitely start paying attention towards it, even though SKT's strategy has actually been leave Huni alone. He's on an island, and then you play around bot side with all your vision. When you have a Jace against the Rumble, you gotta respect that enemy jungler can show up and kill your Jace, so we should see some attention towards it from both sides.
Seeing that attention, we have the Jarvan on the side of Maxlor, definitely having a little early game potential. Where does he find this for Misfits? Where is the best place to go?
I mean, I certainly think that you can get over to those side lanes. It depends on where pressure is, but for Power of Evil and Maxlor, I think there's a lot of onus for them to go as this team, up to the side lanes, try to get something done. I do think that if Huni is pushing on Jace, he could be susceptible, and that's somewhere we can see them try to make a three-man play.
All right, about to be onto the Rift. Our second quarterfinal matchup almost underway. SK Telecom T1 versus Misfits Gaming from Challenger to World stage. Trying to make an impact on the league scene here. And the team is more than ready with social media tweets and confidence and ready to win.
I'd say they've already made their impact, right? They've made their mark on this tournament. This team has had such incredible improvement throughout the year and really has shown that they're not to be underestimated.
And it's been, again, a fantastic year after they joined in the spring split, qualified through Challenger. The team went to Korea to bootcamp for a full month. They picked up Kakao, they found Power of Evil as well. And then, of course, they had Hansama, they had Alfari and Ignar already. Spring split was okay for Misfits. They made it into playoffs. They couldn't make it all the way to the final. Ended up swapping out the jungler. Maxwell came in as a big shock hole, the big leader. And while it took some time for them during the summer split to really reach their level, they made it all the way to the final. And then now they made it all the way to the quarterfinal at Worlds as well. And they've been underestimated the entire way. No one actually predicted Misfits to be the team who could sit here and now challenge H2K or SKT. That was a little bit of European in there.
and the biggest thing for me now is seeing, can they go that next step, right? Because in that finals, when they made it against G2, against this top quality team who had time to prepare, they were handled very well. It was a 3-0 for G2, and now going up against an even stronger team who has had time to study, who has had time to prepare. Can you challenge this team?
Question of, well, if Maxlor can keep his jungle pathing different from game to game, as SKT, a team that very good at utilizing their subs from Easy Hoon to Faker, and now in the jungle, Peanut and Blank back and forth. They do it constantly from season to season. And both junglers starting, looks like they'll be on opposite sides then.
Yeah, so very important to track both of them, especially Maxwell going buff to buff here. Once he hits level 3, might try and look for an early gank, but he of course needs a little bit more before he can actually do it.
There is a possibility, you know, if you can actually push in bot lane, reset that you can gank someone like a Trundle. The Trundle is not tanky at all in the early stages of the game, does have trouble escaping from some of these ganks if you can land something like the flash stun from Ignar. And Ignar actually going with a very kind of aggressive melee trading style. Thinking Grass the Undying is certainly atypical, but I think it's an adjustment because specifically of this matchup against another melee champion where you can actually get use out of your passive, and having the Grasp is going to make your trades that much better.
And the Caitlyn is going to be a big question here, because Caitlyn came into play because she could dominate the bot lane. She could deal with these Relic Shield AD carries and these supports like Lulu Janet that could never punish her, and she could just slowly take your tower. Against the Taric there, he's actually set up to, you know, CC her and trade against
on the bang. Dazzle almost taking him down. Full explosive shot. And it looks like they're going to lose this damage trade. Wolf still going in a bit, but they say stop, and we'll go back again once we can.
Yeah, I mean, nice little bit of damage coming out at the start on Bang. You also have to respect how much damage Trundle is doing back to you with the auto attack reset, with Chomp reducing your AD and giving the bonus damage as well. Trundle's early damage, if you just jump on his face like that, is actually tremendous, and it's a trade of two summoners.
And Ignar didn't really get a lot of value out of his exhaust here in the fight. He's not running heal on the Taric and then barrier on Hansama. They've just gone back to the traditional style before Worlds, where Hansama is bringing heal for himself. But obviously, Ignar here, he's looking at this comp from SKT, and he's seeing two physical damage dealers as the main damage carries on SKT's side. And there's going to be a lot of armor stacking on Maxwell's side. There's going to be Ignar trying to do the same and then shut down the Caitlyn or the Jace with exhaust in team fights.
It's also worth mentioning, we haven't touched on it yet, but this is a Stoneborn packed Trundle. So this is for Ardent Sensor. And one of the things about that is you're exceptionally squishy. So you are playing a melee champion, and Trundle sometimes can have trouble contributing much if you cannot actually get up in your opponent's face. You have the pillar, you have your ultimate, but past that, you really are not contributing a lot with these really squishy builds if you're going to go for the Ardent Sensor and Redemption.
It is the pillar build, basically. All you do is you land your pillar, that applies to Stoneborn here, so when people are hitting the champion that got CC'd, they get healing back from the Earth and Rune, that it of course puts on as a little debuff, and then you get the Ardent Sensor proc for yourself. Faker though, he's moved to the top lane.
Relieving a little pressure, taking that blast cone as
Alfari
well.
or there.
Great timing as Max Lord just left. Alfari overheating to use his scrap shield to get out of position. Talk comes in after the flash. They get turret side, and they're going to get first blood.
It's those kind of plays here that can shut down Misfits early game. But keep talking about it. What is Maxlord going to do? Can he get a lane ahead? Well, this wasn't even about the junglers. This was just Faker pushing out his lane, moving to the top lane, and surprising Alfari up there.
Yeah, grabbing the early boots on that first base makes it easier for him to get up there, and not really any way for Alfari to actually escape once Faker is already behind him. There's so much CC there. Huni securing the kills, flashing behind him and knocking him back in, and this is just a really nice roam from Faker.
See, I mean, at this point here, there's no vision of him, but it normally gets called very early when the mid laner just kind of walks out of your lane, and Alfari is just not expecting Faker to show up top lane, and it's a very easy first blood here for SKT, and it's so important for them that they stop this early snowball from Misfits.
One of the biggest concerns as well for Alfari now is you are on this pushing champion, you don't have your flash available. You know, within the next few minutes, Peanut could be up there. He could be looking for a gank, and when he hits level 6,
what about
you
right
could bring
now?
up Faker and Peanut very easily here too with that Galio roam. So that's another level that they're going to have to be worried about.
So now Maxlaw will also have to struggle when it goes towards the top side, because suddenly Galio ulti is there. You might lose that 2v2. Maxlaw and Power View might have to change their attention to the bottom side, where they have to set up from this Taric here against potentially Wolf on this Trundle, and see if you can actually get some damage on this bot lane tower, maybe a kill as well, and snowball that way.
Well, Alfari's build being shortened a little bit as he goes for 2 cloth armors to start. The Equalizer is going to be more of a slow when they actually get it into these fights. 47 to 29 in CS, as the top lane may not even see that much more love, as Huni will have control of the lane. Pressure a bit towards mid, but it's just to make sure somebody has vision.
And it looks like SKT wants to actually invade for the respawning red buff. Huni is not even purchased yet, though, so he's not that strong yet, but he is with the team. They have the Galio ultimate, and that is giving them the confidence to actually look for a play here. Alfari is 6th, though, and in the jungle corridors, we know how strong Rumble can be.
Oh, they're pinging. They want to fight here.
Or making a move. Huni doesn't like the situation as Alfari moves down from the bot side. Remember, Huni's flash was used in the last engage. Faker tries to come in, and they are going to be able to protect each other for just a moment. Maxlor finds himself going down as Peanut routes around the back of the fight.
Is the issue for Misfits when it comes to playing around the top side. You have to respect the Galio ulti and also the damage that you get early game from a Galio and even a Jace. Despite him not buying, he's still level 6 and the base damage hurts. Misfits lose that trade and now down 2 kills already.
Very low Hans Sama trying to trade with Wolf a bit, but Bang gets the better of Ignar's HP. Wolf will just kind of sustain up here in lane if they don't trade too much. They still have a bit of control.
And we talk so much about Misfits trying to get ahead in the early game. They got to do something now.
Bang's flash now down. They might be able to get the kill on the Wolf as Bang barriers out to get any protection for him.
And Hans Sama went down without getting the heal off, and that is so big because that's one auto away from getting a kill on Wolf. The flash now down from all of the bot lane, from the mid laner as well. No flashes are available across the board for Misfits, and the early game really not going the way they hoped.
All going horribly wrong for Misfits. That crucial first game where you're trying to show you can actually beat them early on, that you can get some of that confidence, momentum for yourself.
See this one more time.
Is the trade, and Hansama just...
Oh, and he even flashed there. You're just not understanding how much damage was coming through with the Peacemaker coming through, with that guaranteed crit headshot coming through. He had to early heal, and he tried to flash forward and actually land the stun, but wasn't able to get it going, and unfortunately, they are now way behind.
And you can't make those kind of mistakes against SKT. Like, we already know that you need to play almost a perfect game to beat them. Maxwell's getting caught.
They have the jungle to themselves now. It is going to be Ignar trying to come back, though. Hans Sama has returned to lane, and you have Power of Evil just in the side. Realm Warp comes in. Peanut and Wolf are going to be in a bad spot as Bang just inching into the fight. They lose Wolf, and it looks like Faker's going to be short on the help as well. A taunt comes in to stop Hans Sama in his tracks and possibly put him down. Peanut thinking about going back in as Bang can trade more damage from the bot side, and Faker staves off another kill. They may want it, though. Winds of War just short from hitting Hans Sama, and they're going to back off from this.
Misfits do get a kill. They push them out of the jungle, so something over working for them could give them a little bit of confidence, but we'll see if they can get any more. SKT did get some vision down in the jungle, and Galio ultimate is almost back up, so they're going to have to pay the respect over to Faker.
All right, 1 kill back here still. Misfits Gaming, definitely not the start they were looking for. Right now, almost down 2,000 gold. The Caitlyn in the bot lane is just farming, not getting any damage on the tower, but not getting shut down either. Power of Evil trying to do what he can in mid lane, but it's so hard against the Galio.
It certainly is, and SKT wanted to go for this aggressive early invade, but you know the Rise ultimates that you had talked about earlier actually did come very heavily into play because SKT is making this move without Galio ultimate being up. So despite the fact that they get a lot of damage down early, the Rise roam comes in first.
Yeah, and also we have Bang right now returning from base. Just an over-aggressive play here from SKT, making a mistake on their side, getting punished for it instantly. And Sama hoping you get a second kill on the way out. But because of Faker's early taunt here, catches the Tristana instantly and blocks any incoming damage.
Good for Power of Evil as Faker was able to get an early roam, get that kill in. One almost delivered to Power of Evil there, and not sure that's going to happen very much more as SKT play a little bit safer in those engages.
It's also a little bit concerning when you're looking up at the top lane for Alfari because so much you talk about Rumble, getting early spell penetration, being able to get this level 2 ultimate, and being super powerful around that timing, and that's really when Rumble does reign supreme. But because he's been put behind, he's into this kind of full-on defensive build, likely building towards the Seekers now. And with Seekers and Tabbies, your damage is a lot lower. You do still have the base damage working up for you, but spell penetration really is an important part of Rumble.
Rumble has become basically a snowball pick, as you're highlighting, because we know in the late game, there'll be redemption, there'll be these huge locket shields, and they're just going to block most of his ulti damage. So if he's not doing well in the mid game, in the upcoming team fights we're going to have in the next 10 to 15 minutes, the pick kind of has no place all of a sudden. But all their flex picks from SKT in this pick and ban phase really put Misfits in a tough spot, because they were looking at a Galio and a Trundle being, okay, they can both actually go top lane. One can go support, one can go mid lane, and then they lock in this Rumble, and suddenly Jace comes in as a top lane surprise, and now they're diving.
Mooney going for the dive. Faker knows he can come in. Alfari tries to get just away from the turret, dodging out on the taunt, but knocked back in, and Faker picks up kill number 2.
Even roams again back up to the top lane here from Faker, and you talked about how SKT has not been playing from Huni. They've been letting him be alone by himself in a side lane, making his plays, but this game, they are putting him ahead and they're showing that they can play all of these different styles.
They know down the bot lane that Bang and Wolf just wants to survive. They know there's a winning lane, top lane, they can try and utilize. And it's this Galio pick. Azel, you said this in the pick and ban phase. Giving Galio over to a team like SKT, it's so scary. And Faker right now, he's part of everything.
Yeah, and I mean, not only just the defensive capabilities, but obviously how aggressively you can make this. This is diving into a Rumble. Unfortunately, the early equalizer not really paying dividends there for Alphari as Huni's kind of just jumping out of it. I don't think there's any escaping this play.
Exactly. The first gank was just Faker walking to top lane. The second one now is like, well, I pushed my lane, I've ulted to basically go to the top lane again.
And we say scary, but why? Why is Galio so scary and then in the hands of SKT?
Because Galio is such a stable pick. It's a tank that has strong wave clear. It's a tank that has super high early game impact, a lot of crowd control. You can not only control your lane through your wave push, you can then move to the side lanes. You have this easy response. Anytime the team wants to do something on the map, you press R. You can shut that down. Anytime you want to do something aggressive on the map, you simply press R. You can set it up. So really in the early game, I just think that Galio reigns supreme.
Also worth adding for the late game fights, he has a massive AoE taunt, which is so valuable because you have these backline carries you want to protect, and Galio can do that so well, or you can catch the enemy. Let's see what happens here.
Hansama going aggressive again. Teleports coming in from the top side. Don't even know if they need it. Ace in the hole tries to get hit. Cosmic Radiance comes down. And
there's four here. They're going to go for the dive.
Now Sejuani all dodged out on one. Hansama gets taken down as Faker now 3-0-1. 5 kills on the board for SKT.
You thought Faker needed his ulti to help the side lanes? There's a teleport as well. Why not? He's straight down into the bottom lane. Misfits are trying to be aggressive in the side lanes, and Galio punishes them again.
And this is just another problem with Ryze in these early stages. Yes, Ryze can be strong in these skirmishes, but how can he ever get to them when he's constantly pushed in by this Galio, when he's not able to actually access these side lanes, and when he's forced into the cleanse versus the teleport? So really things going so well for SKT in the early game, and with these item completions coming through, it's just bad news goes to worse. I mean, Huni already has a tier and a full black cleaver, and it's going to be crushing side lanes.
Faker gets caught. I don't know if he's going to be able to make it out of this. It looks good as he just walks down. Huni says, yeah, we can walk out of this, and Alphari gets pulled out of lane. As they start to rotate back, it's going to be Hansama up there.
Yeah, I mean, there's 3 men hitting Faker, but where's the damage, right?
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
mostly magic damage coming through from Power of Evil, and this guy's already on his Mercury treads, already has the adaptive helm. And Galio has so much innate damage reduction through the passive, through the taunt passive when you're channeling it as well, that you need so much more to ever be able to threaten him.
We are only 15 minutes into the first game of this series, and the SKT War Machine is steamrolling over Misfits. This is not how it's supposed to go for Misfits if they want to do anything in this best of 5 against SK Telecom. And right now, it's an uphill battle. They need to find some opening, but they're not winning any of the lanes.
Yeah, and it's really problematic because, as you talked about, this is not the way the Misfits are supposed to have these games go, right? It's all about their early game strength. We've talked a lot about that. We haven't talked a lot about how SKT wins even when they are behind. They're 3-1 from behind this tournament, and now they have a big lead.
So they must lose when they get ahead. That's the strategy. There we go.
There you go. That's how it works.
Locking down this one. Peanut able to get that movement all. Zone them out with that 6 from Sejuani, and they're able to get themselves into position. This now gives that 4,000 gold lead to SKT, and you can see what the average goal difference here between the two teams is in that group stage.
Exactly. Misfits typically are ahead around the 15-20 minute mark, but then can still lose. Let's see what happens here. Power Reaper, Max Lore.
Bang feeling good as Faker comes in. Shots onto Max Lore. Looks like they'll keep the focus even if Cosmic Radiance comes down. They turn onto Alphari. Knowing his damage from the Equalizer comes in as Bang goes over the wall to take the 1v1. And Hansama and the rest of the team turn tide. They have to leave Alphari. 8-1 SKT 16 minutes in.
There's just no damage there for the Misfits. Faker comes in with the ultimate again, shutting them down completely. They get 3 kills. They're going to get the Rift Herald. They're pushing multiple lanes here as well. Jace will likely be able to knock down the mid turret. They can get the top turret and even use that Rift Herald to threaten a tier 2.
It's like Misfits getting so desperate, they just took whatever fight they could actually find. But SKT were ready. Every single member was there, reacting in time. And they get more kills, more towers. 8,000 gold lead.
It also catapults them ahead once they start to have these vision, these towers. You have Jace able to take them down very fast. Bang as well can do that from a safe distance very quickly. And you have a huge front line to stand in front of you if you even do feel trouble. 31.7 to 24.1.
It's a really good point. I mean, Jace in those side lanes with the W, giving you all those extra attacks. You are knocking down these turrets so incredibly fast. And we saw how Huni could perform in side lanes, against Cloud9, knocking down turrets. If he ever gets time, he's going to be a menace. And here's the fight again. As you said, it does feel like Misfits just are trying to force anything.
Yeah, they were just so desperate here. Power Weevil jumping in with Maxwell before the dual lane was there, before Fire could even TP in. Doomed before the fight even started. Misfits called for that engage, and SKT pick up a bunch of easy kills on the way out.
Definitely believe you guys are right. Misfits giving a lot of consideration to always going. We see it from Han Sama in the bot lane. Those summoners are up. The rocket jump is forward. Ignar's there with Cosmic Radiance, as well as Maxlore. They're behind so much gold, still trying to just take that blue, get a little bit back, and they're getting in trouble for it.
And Han Sama, speak a little bit about him as he may be caught out here.
Ooh, does have Ignar for a moment, but Faker's going to take quite a while to go down. And at this point, it's enough time for the team to get there and make it another SKT fight.
Yeah, Han Sama has just been such an aggressive player throughout the tournament. He's actually second in forward percentage, meaning time spent across half, essentially. Only second to iBoy, who's now no longer with us. So he has really been playing this aggressive play style and making it work for himself throughout the tournament. But it's so tough when you're playing against players as strong as SKT and when they're on a Caitlyn. I mean, you put Bang on this lane-dominant champion, and the Trundle is a solid matchup into Taric, and then it becomes extremely difficult.
And we had before this game here during the group stage, SKT picked up 9 kills before 15 minutes in the 6 games they played in total. So they were very inactive. They picked scaling lanes. They allowed the enemy teams to push them down and forced SKT to kind of defend for a while before getting that big late game team fight. In a game like this here, where Faker and Huni are able to get a huge advantage top lane so early and then switch it down to bot lane right after, they're never going to be behind. They're never going to have to defend. They can just play full-on aggression.
And that kind of stuff is Huni's bread and butter. We see him playing the tanks, and it's all here and there, not getting much resource here. Faker to his lane first. Faker to Huni. Huni 2-0-3. Faker's 3-0-4. Those side lanes are so huge and already hitting on the inhibitors sub 20 minutes.
He's just going to kill the inhibitor or dive.
Oh, that's the ultimate coming in from Peanut, but Alfari doesn't look like he's going to make it much farther. Huni standing on the equalizer, has to get out. Shock Blast just on the coattails of Alfari as Rift Herald is taking down mid. There is so much on Misfits' plate, and they don't know what to go for first.
I mean, this is just complete dominance from SKT, almost knocking down the inhibitor turret as that Rift Herald is pushing mid. They knock down the tier 2. They put damage on the mid inhibitor as well, and this game just feels like it's completely out of control. 10,000 gold lead before 20 minutes, and it's hard to see a world in which any team comes back from this, let alone Misfits against SKT.
Oh, for sure. Misfits late game definitely been an issue doing well. So doing even the EULCS where they have struggled that part of the game, which is, of course, why we keep talking about them getting early leads if they want to win this series here. But for now, there's going to be 5 players on your screen. There's going to be a coach backstage, all thinking about next game. What do we need to change here? Okay, Galio, that was a huge issue. We couldn't deal with it. All the flex picks were an issue as well for Misfits, and they got to change something up already for the next game.
And to me, it's about having those aggressive lanes, those winning lanes. So you talk about Ignar as a playmaker, and while Taric is a great pick, that's much more of a late game, a team fight style, or even a mid game team fight style. It's not this Blitzcrank or this Thresh who's going to be the playmaker and really be explosive in lane. But we'll have to see what they can make happen here as the Baron is on the map and SKT has full side lane control. They're going to have to be very careful or Huni's going to be knocking down their inhibitor.
It's really crazy to think of the SKT power, the history they've created for themselves, and a very strong team, a team that can come back. Just in the group stage, they were also down 10,000 gold, but it wasn't they're out of this game. It was a Rakan Ori ultimate. Here for Misfits, it's hard to find in this composition. It's hard to even see coming from the beginning of the game. Will they be able to make anything work now?
And Koma has talked about the fact that SKT uses group stage to scout out other teams, to figure out what their weaknesses are, and then they look to improve upon them, right? They're identifying weaknesses. They're drafting more towards early game already in this first game here against Misfits. And for all the criticism that they have gotten about their early game, look at what they are showing us so far.
And it's not the first time we've seen them have issues in group stages. Like, think back to...
Every year is the weakest year.
Every year we're like, oh, I don't know, I'm seeing a weakness right there. They're bleeding at the moment. There's a chance, maybe. Obviously, with Misfits, not a lot of people were looking at them being the big giant slayers here. So people thought at least Misfits could challenge in the first game, and not been the case here.
That mentality is still there for Misfits. We see them trying. We see them getting themselves into positions that could make things work. 22 minutes in, Misfits get a fight right onto Bang on the backside. Hansama jumps forward, but he's blocked out by Cataclysm as Cosmic Radiance comes down along with Faker, and Bang's on the backside, able to deliver in just a few shots. And Hansama's in the ground. Power of Evil, the rest of the team trying to realm warp out. He makes it, along with Max Lord, but Alfari left in the back, taunted up, and taken down by SKT.
Once again, we see Misfits try and see if they can maybe pull off a trap or creative play to get something back here, but they just do not have the damage or the members there in time to actually kill Bang. And Ignite, he's still alive, buying a bit of time for himself, but the rest of SKT, they're starting Baron.
Yeah, they're already on Baron. You can see Faker is pushing in the waves in mid and in bot, getting more damage down on those turrets, and Wolf is even going to claim a kill for himself here, adding insult to injury.
Hits him on the pillar, throws down the subjugate. Baron falls, it goes to SKT, and a kill for Wolf coming up at some point, if the team doesn't make it here off home guards first.
Oh, Peanut's going to steal it.
Oh, he's trying to
Don't take it away from him.
He'll secure Hooney. The unexpected shock blast.
All right, now it's time to see how fast can SKT close this one out. 13,000 gold lead and the Baron buff. All their items are coming in with the completions. There's nothing really to threaten them, and they're just going to look to push in here, and we'll see how quickly can they end the game.
Bang looking to pick up the resources on the side of Misfits as well. They don't even own their half of the jungle, and they only have one more turret on the top side before it is back to those inhibitor turrets. 2 Mountain Drakes along with this Caitlyn Jace comp as well. It is just adding insult to injury here. 11-1, just under 25 minutes for SKT as they look at Misfits base.
Waiting for Hooney to push that bottom lane at the moment. Also waiting for the wave to hit the tower up in top lane. Let's get all the outer turrets out of the way. Then you just gotta break open at least one lane at a time. There's a tower in the bot lane near that inhib that's very low. Few hits from Hooney and it's down, and he can start going for inhib. Misfits might look to try and kill Hooney.
I think you have to force. Misfits' only chance is forcing something 5v3, 5v1 even. Try to kill Hooney off immediately, but already Hooney's on retreat.
Dazzle up to that Cataclysm as well. Doesn't look like you're going to get much out of the equalizers. Hooney's into a safe spot. Good ult from Peanut as they lock down their first target. That's Max Lore. Hansama falls quickly right after, and it looks like Baker is not going to let this one end until they get to the fountain. The rest of SKT's inside the base, and Ignar's the next in their eyes right after Power of Evil. The first inhibitor will fall.
SKT just wanted another fight so they could win that fight, push all the way for the Nexus. Don't need to spend time getting on all the inhib, just finish the game.
Looking at 25 minutes for the first matchup here. Alfari's doing what he can, going for broke. But SKT's already got that for themselves. 16-1, 25 minutes in. Game 1 to SKT over Misfits.
And almost a perfect game there. Only the one kill given over. No turrets, no dragons, nothing happening for Misfits.
So now, if you're Misfits, it's a full reset. Completely ignore this game even happened, but still look at the Galio pick from this draft and say, okay, this was a huge issue. They could not play against Faker's Galio. He was part of all the early kills we saw in this game here. And after that, you also got to talk about nerves. We saw suddenly people dying without using heal, something we haven't seen during the group stages. We saw Faker go missing and no one seemed to call it. A lot of issues right there for Misfits. They got to fix that completely for game 2 if they want to do anything.
I mean, it's such a next level of pressure when you're on this massive stage in a best of 5 against the best team of all time. Knowing these guys' reputation, it's got to put a little bit of fear into you.
Oh, for sure. I mean, SKT are very nervous.
When you think about those, you're talking about not calling the calling the Mias and whatnot when Faker was gone. That was his first back. You know, you only think he's back. You don't think to say he's going to leave lane. So it's the very small things that should be considered, those second nature things. You come into every game, they're out of lane, they got to be gone. You're exactly right. And it's scary to see that Misfits is kind of fumbling on those right off the bat.
I mean, you have to do everything right against SKT to stand a chance, and I'd love to see Misfits go for full early game, get Ignar on a playmaker,
no
see if they
Galio,
can make something happen, get rid of the Galio, get a Blitz, get a Thresh, get something, and try to make some early plays.
I think everybody agrees on the Galio. We'll check in with the analyst as that game one and how that game one played out as we send it over.
Thank you very much, Rip. Deficio hit the nail on the head. The nerves getting to SKT there, dropping a single kill in their first game in this best-of-5 series. But in all reality, that was a crushing game out of SK Telecom to open the series. But for Misfits, a lot of questions around the strategy that they brought in here for game one.
Yeah, so the one thing at the very end is the Rise pick was exactly what SKT wanted to play against, so you can itemize more efficiently on the early game Galio, which is like just the final nail in the coffin to what I think was a pretty disastrous draft.
Yeah, there were other parts to it as well, Jet. Specifically, when Misfits fully committed to Taric and J4 in the first round, the Trundle pick we saw from SKT, it was a true flex. Back when we had Taric in the meta, Trundle was a good matchup into it. It's a very safe one there. So already, they have flex picks. They have the Galio as a second-round pick in the first round of the draft. I know that's confusing, but they already had the Sejuani locked in. In general, I feel like SK Telecom outpicked. And a small point here, and what I kind of took away was, people will say that SK Telecom's early game was weak in groups, and it's true, but they weren't picking for early game. So it's a kind of it's a subtle point, but SK Telecom were not playing a strong early game, but they weren't picking for it either. It's not that SK Telecom can't play early game. We know they can, and this is the sort of game where you see those adjustments, and suddenly the results, it was hard to watch.
I mean, it was really just a question of intention versus a bad read on the meta, which we normally would never say about SKT. They've certainly proven themselves, but I have to agree. I mean, I'm never one of those people that says, you know, that 100% a team just absolutely lost a draft, that there's nothing that they can do here. I just don't fundamentally really believe in that. I think there's always options, except for this game. I look at this, I'm like, this was 100% lost from the draft phase. It wasn't just the Galio, it wasn't just the Taric, it wasn't just the Rise. Like, it was all three of those things in conjunction. And why aren't we playing Lucian into Galio? The LPL, it's the go-to pick. It was an option here for Power of Evil. Like, I understand.
He's played it before.
I understand the beauty of, like, having hard CC and Jarvan. You're just like, let's camp Faker's lane. Oh, God, we can't kill him. He's on Galio.
And we saw the potency of this Galio pick throughout the early game, right? The potential to roam to the side lanes and affect the map while Misfits is trying to make plays. And we'll take a look at the early action as it played out in this game. Brought to you by Acer Predator.
Now, the reason that Faker actually gets the jump up here, and this is seconds before Maxlar has gone, is because he teleports back to the lane. So it's the TP that saves in the extra seconds, where Power of Evil isn't into the lane, shoves the wave, and then wanders top.
Yeah, that gank also forced the Rumble into a defensive build, which had more implications later down the road. Then once you're level 6 on Galio, especially when you're trying to make plays around the mid lane, it just gives you such an advantage that SKT was able to capitalize on.
I mean, it's basically 3 winning lanes for SKT. We already saw Sejuani in these games. When you actually are able to move aggressively on Sejuani, the action rotates around you. It was a bloodbath early, and there really was no escape.
And quickly touching back to that top lane point about Rumble then having to itemize defensively, I think that was a huge blow to Misfits. Because again, you go back to draft, what are their options? Where can they gank lanes? It was really only around that Rumble and that Jarvan combo to get the 2v2 kill pressure top. Once that wasn't available, they were done.
Yeah, and I want to speak to those gold leads that we see on the screen. Nearly 10,000 gold at 20 minutes. You could say EDG level early games from SKT, but they're so much of a different team and so much more complete. And when we were thinking about like upset potential coming into this series, we're thinking, well, Longzhu was the favorites. They had a great group stage and they lost. But we should be thinking about group stage to bracket stage in the words of Samsung and SKT being very similar teams that can adapt to the meta and still have all those late game fundamentals on lockdown. SKT has been a better version of Samsung the whole year. So if we're going to say Samsung is now favored in this meta, SKT's on a whole nother level.
Well, that's what speaks to me, right? You talk about building a 9K lead similar to the way that EDG was able to do that. Well, you pair that with SKT's ability to close, and it's no surprise that with a 10K gold lead, they close it in just 5 minutes more.
I mean, multiple carries here are doubling the gold earned by the opponents. It felt over at draft, but of course, you play out a certain strategy a certain way, things can go in, but very quickly, it escalated.
Then since we've identified draft as being probably the major issue here, I want to talk about where the adjustments can be found for Game 2 in Misfits.
Yeah, so I think SKT was a favorable draft, but like, you put the teams with different compositions, there's still a good chance SKT wins that game. Like, yes, Misfits had a low chance with that draft, but SKT can still win even with bad drafts as we saw in the group stage. Going into the next game, I want to see a total redo for Misfits. They got, I think, completely surprised that SKT was trying to go early game, and that almost forced them, like they were ready to be like, all right, we're going to be proactive in the early game. It's like, well, now we have the scaling comp, so it's not really a favorable play to do so. So I think they will be less surprised by the draft from SKT and need to think about picking optimally. I think if they get into an early games arms race, they're going to end up losing late to SKT. They just need to try and make sure that they're getting the best value out of their picks.
For me, it's focus on Ignar. I think Deficio mentioned it a couple times during the cast, but I do agree. Get him on a more playmaking-oriented champion. He was doing good things with the Taric, but it wasn't really enough. And I still feel that Bang and Wolf are kind of the area that if you just throw Maxlor down there with Ignar and get Han Salmon going, that it's probably going to be the best case of success for them.
And we'll see if they change up sides. SK Telecom picked blue just like Longzhu did yesterday, which was a surprise for Longzhu. They couldn't carry it through. SK Telecom certainly could. I didn't like Misfits focusing on the supports on red side. When you ban Janna on blue, you do draw the Lulu ban, but going for a Khan as well, sure, it's denying a playmaker, but by then, it felt like SK Telecom almost had a blind pick draft with what ended up.
I can confirm for you that Misfits has chosen blue side. There will be no substitutions here for game 2. Let's see what that does to this discussion.
And this conversation, I don't actually think it does much. It just means that if they want to pick in a similar style of SKT, they can save their AD carry until second phase to try and get a counter pick. But what SKT did to Misfits mentally in that game is an example of how hard it is to play against SKT. Because you know they're so great at playing defense and that they will outscale you if given the chance. So then you think, okay, we have to pick early game champions. But if all you do is go all in early game against SKT, they're going to beat you with scaling. But they just beat you with early game. So they so quickly destroy you mentally, and it makes it feel like you don't have any options. So I don't know what Misfits is going to do.
They put you in what feels like a no-win situation, right? And so you're kind of grasping at straws for how exactly can we find a hole in, in the play style and strategies of the best team in the world. And so, again, I think that's where we always fall back on that. Well, then you just have to index early. You have to hope that you find yourself that 10K goal lead at 20 minutes that will become insurmountable or gives you enough allowances to make mistakes and yet still close the game.
You just turn the nameplates off, frankly. You just go back to playing Misfits like what made their fans fall in love with them over the group stage, which is like the Blitzcrank stuff. You just go ham, you go crazy, you go wild.
I think set up a playmaker. Set up a lane you can gank or a jungler that can warp the sense of the game, because as SKT controls tempo, they win.
All right, well, there you have it. We've got game 2 of SKT versus Misfits coming up right after the break. Before we go, sometimes you have a rough start on the Rift. Sometimes the camp on your lane is more like a long-term lease. And while you can't always control how the early game plays out, you can control how it affects you. Take a note from the First Blood King Yankos as he shows us what it means to be tilt-proof.
Welcome back to beautiful Guangzhou and the Guangzhou Gymnasium as we get ready for Game 2 of Misfits versus SKT Telecom T1. Game 1, pretty quick. I'm sure Misfits didn't have much to think about, but Game 2, and that's where their eyes are focused.
Yeah, exactly. Misfits needs to be able to completely reset, forget that first game, make a few changes in the pick and ban phase. Really want to see them get rid of Galio and Jace. Now they are on blue side.
A lot of people are with you there.
Of course, you got to ban another 20 champions if you want to get rid of all the best ones, but at least target the very important ones, which is now Galio and Jace.
Well, and I think it's just target the ones that can make SKT have an easy early game, right? That can shut down your aggression. If this is the way in, then you can't have losing lanes. You can't have Galio who can shut down your plays all across the map. And Huni just had such a strong early game in combination with Faker and the roams that he had. It really snowballed this game for
Exactly. They played around him so well in the early game. It allowed Huni to spend 51% of his time in laning phase across the river, in the face of Alfari, near Alfari's tower. That is a crazy number. It's actually also funny enough Huni's average during the group stages, because every single game he's in the face of the enemy, but normally he doesn't get ganks. He just sits alone. This time he got ganks.
And to put that in context, the tournament average is about 30%.
Yes.
So he's massively above. He spends almost twice as much time as your average player at Worlds does across that middle line,
So there
being
you go.
aggressive. And
You can really mess with Huni if you just keep him on his side of the map. You just get right.
That's the key.
That's
yeah.
the key.
If you can just actually kill him and shut him down, if there's no Galio who can maybe stop you from doing it. Let's see Misfits adaptations coming into this game, because a lot needs to change. Not necessarily purely in the pick and ban phase, but also in the game itself. We saw a lot of individual mistakes, some nerves, honestly, from the players.
Starting off with the bans first, and there he is. Number 2 on the ban list for Misfits Gaming is Galio. We'll have to see. Another one I'm looking at is if that Orianna gets through for either of these mid laners as we continue with ban phase 1.
And I just want to see the Jace as well, if that gets banned or not. Yes, there we go. So Misfits agree with the caster desk, get rid of Galio Jace here. And one of the reasons the Jace is also annoying is it is still a flex pick. And the last pick and ban phase, as you guys can see on the screen here down at the bottom, we had Trundle, we had Galio, those were flex picks, they didn't know where they were going. The Jace came in as a surprise in the end, could have still gone to top lane, or sorry, to mid lane if needed, but then got swapped up top. So it was very difficult for Misfits to do anything in that draft.
also excited to see if Rakan is going to go over Misfits, and obviously it is not. So, will SK Telecom actually pick this up for Wolf? It has been such a strong pick for him. Very clearly that was a concern for Misfits going into game number 1.
And if we do get the Rakan, I want to see Thresh come in from Ignar's side. Try and shut down Rakan in the laning phase. Now, SKT might think the same, and therefore hesitate to pick it over for Wolf and just go a lot safer, which is what they're doing.
Tarek locked in already as well. The Jarvan being a bit of a flex for them if they really want to throw it around. Huni has a few plays on that himself. The Max Lauren Power of Evil now locking in with the possibly in the top lane, but that bot lane really necessary.
Yeah, give me Rakan here for Ignar. Like, it's a playmaking support. You build Ardent Sensor. I actually like it against Tarek as well because your engage is so quick. It's hard for Tarek to time his ulti. Ignar instead, though, going for just pure lane bully.
So we are assuming this is going to be Ignar, but there is the possibility. So there have been, talks of Karma top, of Karma mid, which did kind of get pushed out of the meta,
Very true.
Very quickly by split pushers. As even if you win early, it's very hard to do anything late if you can't group on Karma. But maybe Misfits is willing to kind of throw a wrench in the gears and try something like that.
A possibility. If they do put it down the bot lane, it's just a very strong pushing lane. So again, would also give them advantage in 2v2, which is what they're looking for. Keep highlighting the fact that Misfits need to win the early game. And that's a hover.
Caitlyn is still available, and they can just go right back to that. Caitlyn was very successful for them in the first game, but they are instead going to lock in Cho'Gath. And Cho'Gath, another pick, which really has been so effective here at Worlds.
Yeah, now they're able to ban away Trundle, take that away from Alfari. It's been one of his answers to Cho'Gath. Shen has been another popular pick for a lot of teams when they face the Cho'Gath, because then they can just use the Shen to TP away from the lane and snowball the other side of the map while Cho'Gath is scaling.
It's pretty interesting what SKT is doing here. Now Misfits has to say we either go back at Bang or we go at Faker now. And they have to decide Faker or Bang gets one of their champions at this point.
And to me, when you are already drafting Karma and you're assuming this is going bot lane with Tristana, you're already pushing, I think you should be answer to Tristana. So this is interesting as an adaptation. Not something we've really seen picked or banned hardly at all at Worlds.
And SKT actually leave Trundle open. It's a great pick for Alfari up in the top lane. We'll give another good lane for Misfits to play around, or even leave to just play 1v1 and then let the Trundle just outtail in the split push game. I'm also looking at Twitch just because I think Bang's Twitch is so amazing in the late game. It's so difficult to play against, but this tells me that Misfits want Bang to pick a late game scaling champion, a champion that cannot win in the early game, and then Misfits can try and bully the 2v2 lane.
And I think that makes a lot of sense, right? Why worry about the late game of SKT? They're going to have an incredible late game. Whatever they pick, this team just plays so well around the map. They're so well coordinated. The best way for Misfits to win is going to be aggressive, to really get in their face, snowball these advantages. And you know, against this Terra Kog'Maw, I think there will be opportunities for Misfits to do just that.
100%, especially if they have the Karma in the bot lane to just perma push to the tower, use Tristana's ability to kill towers early to try and snowball the game here. Now we still gotta wait and see if Karma will go mid or down to support. PowerVivo is the kind of person who's played Lulu and Karma in the past. It's a counter pick now top for Alfari, and he goes with Gnar and not the Trundle.
So why I think this makes sense, you know, and perhaps a matchup that we would have is more even. I think Trundle makes a lot of sense, but it wins the game generally more slowly. It's through split push, it's through map play, it's through controlling your opponents and playing a more slow style game. Whereas the Gnar, I think, can have advantages over the Cho'Gath in the early stages and then can be a playmaker. You can TP down, you can get these big Mega Gnar ults that could perhaps turn around a game. And I think that's what they're looking for, and it is going to be the Karma mid, as I had called out earlier.
So we have the Blitzcrank being locked in now. The Gnar, just before that, everything for Misfits says go forward. They take out the Sivir for lane control. They also take out the Sivir so they just don't get their fights run away from, and SKT can exit and be safe. This could be an awesome game for Misfits, but again, they have to act early as SKT finalize their last pick.
Yeah, and we do have to remember Faker. You know, he has his pick of the litter. He has the counter pick here, knowing that it is the Karma. They leave him for last, and he selects the Corki. So we're going to have to find out, how can Power of Evil hold up in this matchup when there is Jarvan, when there is this early ganking threat. And if he gets behind, Karma can sometimes really, really struggle, but does have good early game power.
Definitely very strong in the laning phase, and Corki's not that scary of a laner. He's much more focused on get Trinity Force, then start making plays, and of course scaling. So SKT have gone back to a draft we would see in the group stages, where it's a lot of scaling down the bot lane, in the mid lane as well, even in top lane for Huni in this game here. They don't really have any lanes where you're saying, wow, they have to win through this one lane in the early game. It's actually just play very safe, calculated, get your defensive vision. Everything is just screaming aggression from Misfits. Multiple lanes that can actually go aggressive and try and shut down SKT.
And I just think it's so smart, because you know that SKT is going to have this almighty late game. They're going to be so powerful. Go for a early game. Be super aggressive. And I think we're going to have to see a fantastic game from Maxlor, despite the fact that you have this Blitzcrank. I do think you still need the jungler to be proactive. Yeah. You need Maxlor getting involved, and that could be tough in the Jarvan versus Sejuani matchup.
SKT putting their foot down in game one. Misfits now realizing this is the real deal. Second quarterfinal matchup of SK Telecom T1 and Misfits Gaming heading into game two right now. And we are about to be on to the Rift. A reminder that all throughout the knockout stage, pentakills, Baron steals, activate the mystery gifting bonus. Increase your likelihood of rolling a legendary or esports skin. Pentakills and Baron steals. We'll see if any of those happen within the game. We do have that Kog'Maw. We do have two junglers that are very back and forth with getting those steals, or a team that'll give them up when ahead. So the chances, I feel, are quite high.
I really also want to see Alfari on the Gnar here, because I typically don't think Gnar is that great against Taric. It's very easy to see the Gnar engage when he's kind of jumping towards you and you time the Taric ulti with when Mega Gnar hits. It also doesn't synergize that well with Sejuani because he's a range champion, at least in mini Gnar. So there is definitely some questions regarding that one, but also it comes down to comfort for Alfari. If he knows, okay, he can actually get ahead in this lane phase, use this mid-game then to TP in with his Gnar, and then have the big Mega Gnar ultis on multiple members, well, that is a way then to actually get kills for Misfits.
Seeing the call in the mid lane start for Faker. Says we're going to go ahead and hang back, do what we can to farm. Faker as well, another champion that can get those side lane roams if he wants, get the package on, and he can be there in an instant. Peanut towards the top side is actually just a line of scrimmage here before teams even dip into each other's jungles to feed. See what's going on. A little bit of vision down towards the bot side as Faker can stay safe watching Ignar in the brush.
We did see Ignar actually against TSM, I believe, level 1, go in, force the flash out of Bjergsen. So Was looking to see if there was any opportunities for that play, but perhaps because of the research that SKT has done, they know to play very defensive. 4-man line of scrimmage around the blue buff. No chance of Ignar actually getting in there and stealing away the blue or forcing an early summoner. I think that just speaks so much to their preparation.
It's important to highlight that it's now the second time we see this Blitzcrank from Ignar here. The last time when they played it, all eyes on the bottom lane. We had jungle ganks, we had mid lane roams. They were playing around Ignar's Blitzcrank here, trying to force aggressive plays to see if you can get ahead early. Because again, you're not going to build the typical art and sensor on your Blitzcrank. That's actually moved over to your mid laner, the Karma. But it will, of course, affect Karma's scaling going into the late game. She's not going to be that strong, at least not compared to a Corki. So it's very much get ahead early game for Misfits, snowball the game, and win before you go full late game.
And while the Karma herself won't be that strong, when you do have a mid lane Karma, if you can have that Ardent Sensor in the Death Gap as they're jumping in, this could actually be...
Dazzler goes down, Wolf takes a hit, that's going to be an explosion down below 100 HP, but he's saved, and that's going to be the heal and flash for Wolf.
Ansama might have wanted to commit to that. I mean, one more auto, he actually gets that proc on the explosive shot, may have been the kill there, but he does hang on to both his summoners, and they have forced both of them out of Wolf.
They have so much pressure in the lane here. Blitzcrank just applies this non-stop pressure towards you whenever he moves past the minion wave. You know there's a chance he hooks you in. There could be a jungler there, or you take a bad trade because the enemy AD carry is ready. Let's see here. We get that first gank in the bot lane.
Oh, they have the ward down. TP coming in, and that is going to be big pressure. They get on to Bang. Now both of his are blown, and they are going to have to back up towards the side. It's going to be Maxlor going very low. He takes the tank first. First blood going over to Bang. He's still alive, but goes down to the explosive shot. A Cathian surprise won't do much damage, and Misfits make it out. The last Bang.
Yeah, Misfits trying to make a very aggressive play, but it goes so wrong for them, and SKT able to handle this. They took way too much damage on the initial play. Going in, Ignar's already pushed out, and Maxlor goes down so fast, and not only does SKT get first blood, they get 2 kills. They're both on the Kog'Maw, and that's going to be rough.
Yeah, Misfits actually want to kill Wolf here. There is no summoners on this Taric. He's level 2. He's very easy to burst down and then step away. But they get onto Bang with Barrier and Flash.
And just, it's way too early. I mean, Power of Evil was TPing in. He hadn't even arrived yet. They don't have the damage coordinated. The damage is not going down at the same time. And you need to be so pristine on these early game tower dives, because when you're level 2, level 3, 1 or 2 turret shots can completely destroy you.
Exactly, yeah. So the coordination not on point for Misfits, and this was the comp that needed to get ahead early. Yep. Down 500 gold now, 2 kills over to Bang, as you highlighted just before here. Still big CS difference, and there is still pressure for Misfits in the lane because Bang has no summoners. He will die very quickly if he gets hooked in.
And they need to continue that pressure now. That's the only way that you can really, you know, kind of get this back, because they did get a kill over on Hansama. He has a decent buy, and if they can continually make plays down here, and there's this couple-minute window where Bang is not going to have that flash, and you really can try to pick on him, but I feel like if you can't exploit him during these couple minutes, then it's going to be very hard to do so later.
But it's one of those tough mistakes to make in this early game, because you were trying to reset after the last game where everything went wrong. You're trying to mentally get ready for this one, actually get some momentum going for your team, and then the first play you make, it wasn't even necessarily an outplay from SKT. Bang just clicked Barrier, then Flash, and stood still and just shot at everyone right in front of him. They're like dying and just over-diving.
Peanut having eyes on Maxlor. We see Ignar throw out the hook there, knowing the junglers wouldn't be present on the bot side. Flag and drag over the Dragon Pit was missed, but Maxlor is just out of mana. He's going to need the team to help him out on this one. Faker just getting back to lane, so he won't be there. And just as Peanut can get back over the wall, he does so. Flash blown.
Yeah, smart that Peanut flashes behind that dragon as fast as possible so Ignar doesn't actually get him with the hook and pulls him right back in. So Peanut did stay alive, but again, lost that summoner spell. Maxlor, level 4 on this Sejuani, needs to go back and get full mana before he can do anything, but he needs to get right back out on the map. They have to make another play.
Yeah, they certainly do, because, I mean, so far in the top side, it's actually Huni that's getting the better of Alfari, but Alfari, at level 6, Meganar.
Will be the solo. Misses the wallop, also misses the Q, and Huni's going to be able to walk out of this one. Alfari not really feeling it, not understanding what other pressure was going to be coming in.
Also good use of the minions there from Huni's side. Just step behind the minions so Alfari could not throw the house in his face.
And you have to respect the fact that if you go up in melee range as that Gnar into the Cho'Gath, with the cannon minion hitting you, with the feast available, the damage can get turned around so quickly back on you.
Pushing in is Hans Sama. They still have a bit of control over this lane, and by that, 52-30 in CS. We have to realize what Bang has in kills, though. Kind of makes up for that for now. We'll have to see if they can fight back. Feeling good to go for a dazzle. They just miss and give Bang some time to farm under turret.
This is almost more important than kills for Misfits, the fact they keep getting damage on the bot lane tower. Because once you take down the first tower, again, you open up the map. Blitzcrank can start roaming more aggressively. Much easier to start getting deep vision in the enemy jungle. And that's where, out of nowhere, Ignat can show up in mid and suddenly create a pick for his team. So you gotta get down these outer turrets so quickly, and Hansama's #1 goal is just keep getting damage on this tower.
When he goes to buy Glacial Shroud, sold, and now he picks up Ninja Tabi's, I should say resell, Ninja Tabi's Dark Seal and his refillable potion. So he decides to go for those boots first as he heads back to lane with Teleport.
I think it's pretty smart. It's a more defensive option, and when you're a team that already has such incredible scaling, such incredible late game, you don't need to kind of hedge your bets and try to get a little bit stronger of an early game thing. Just survive lane, scale up, make sure that Misfits can't get an enormous lead, and SKT will be in an incredible position if they are not down in gold.
Heading in, might get a chomp down if he gets the chance. Blows out Fari's flash in a 1v1 situation. Coming back to lane a bit stronger.
Now the hook.
The hook onto Wolf. Gonna throw down the ignite immediately. Means they want it. Dazzle comes back out. Forces Hans Sama's flash. It's almost like they aren't considering everything in the fight before they go in and are coming out a little down.
Yeah, 2 flashes down now, both from Alfari and Hans Sama. Sure, of course, Wolf used both summoners just before here, but the fact he gets a flash in exchange is big for him. Maxler, though, is trying to gank again.
And they do have the TP back up from PoE. They may try to go for this play one more time. Maxler is moving over, but it seems like there is some hesitation on if they can try to make the play happen. And meanwhile, topside, SKT is going to look for the dive.
Athbar Alfari looking to get himself strong right onto Bang. That's going to be the barrier immediately. Cosmic Radiance as well to negate the
nice
damage.
hook.
Beautiful pull onto Bang. Hans Sama goes deep, and it's going to be the explosive shot to take down Bang.
Big plays in the bot lane here for Misfits, and they need these big plays right now. So important, and Sama picks up the kill. Meanwhile, top lane, Alfari stayed alive because Power Vivo used a defensive TP.
That was so nicely done from Hans Sama, playing it so aggressive, getting the kill, getting out just barely with the heal. They will get the first turret with the CS advantage. With these kills on Hans Sama, there's starting to be some hope for Misfits.
It starts off as well in the bot lane, but the top lane gank did not work. SKT wastes a slight bit of time there. They knew where Peanut was, and they were able to go super hard on that bot lane gank. Seems like the communication is still on par for these guys, but it's only 2-2. It's 15.3 to 14.4, anybody's game.
Exactly, and they need to keep pushing the pace as they were trying to do down here. Maxlor makes the move, does nail the ultimate on the Kog'Maw. Very quick, Taric ultimate was dropped from Wolf, which I think gives SKT some confidence that they can fight this, but Bang, honestly, he should have been able to flash that hook.
That should have been an easy flash for Bang. We saw him do it the last time we had this tower dive here where he got 2 kills in return. This one here, he gets pulled in, takes a lot of damage first, and then, of course, Hans Sama can jump in and finish him off with some fancy moves here. We saw it yesterday, or sorry, last game between these two teams. Almost felt like yesterday by now. You know, there's a whole new day, whole new game.
It's in the past, division.
It's in the past right now. 0-4 Hans Sama. Not a good game from him, but this one here, much better start.
Yeah, way better start. And, you know, as I was talking a little bit about earlier, while the Karma itself does not scale exceptionally well as far as the damage you're putting out, it does give you this super powerful support, essentially, because you have all this gold getting funneled into the Karma. You can complete your Chalice, your Ardent Censer, all these items much more early, and then you can get something like a Death Cap and have these super low cooldown, super powerful shields to allow Tristana to play aggressive.
It's all, again, screaming early to mid-game, because late game, it's all about Hans Sama's damage, and he's against a Javan and a Cho'Gath and a Taric stacking armor. It's going to take forever for him to kill anyone, so now with the early tower gone, Misfits need to make a decision here. Do they want to push up bot and take a Drake, or do they want to go straight towards mid and top lane and go for more turrets?
I actually really like this option here from Misfits. They're controlling vision on the bot side here from SKT. They're going to try to catch someone rotating over from mid lane.
But right now, SKT have no reason to rotate through their own jungle, because it's a lane pushed all the way to tier 2 tower for Bang, so he's just going to push it out. And Vega's never going to go down. He's like, I don't care about bot lane. That's the system in my world. There's a Cloud Drake. They're more than happy giving that over to Misfits.
I mean, for something like that to work, Misfits really needs to commit to actually pushing towards that tier 2. If Tristana wants to start towards sieging it, then you can make plays like that work. And it is risky to do so because, to your point, you know, they're not going to come over unless you really push up, and then that exposes you to package roams, to TPs from Huni, and from these sorts of plays. So it is risk versus reward, but either way, Misfits need to push the pace.
Yeah, exactly. And I really want to see them now push up bot lane, reset with this Tristana here, and then go towards the top side and secure another objective, because there's a tower. Once they kill that tower, there's a Rift Hell they gotta grab as well. You need everything in the early game if you're Misfits. Sadly for them, the Cloud Drake is not gonna help them too much in this game, other than actually the Blitzcrank trying to get in position to land a hook. That's where it could be useful for Misfits.
Got that karma speed.
There's a karma speed
Gotta
as well.
Gotta go fast. Misfits are ready to go fast this game. Like, that's basically everything they want to do. Keep the pace going. Keep it in their favor. The map opens up. It could become SKT's. Flash, it is going to be the grab. It is going to not be the kill. He gets out just in time, and Faker stays alive.
Barely surviving there, but again, not able to
Fight to the top side. It's going to be Cooney getting hit up hard. He does have those ninja tabis to stop a bit of the damage. It's still going to be a 2v1 under the turret. Alfari still wants it because here comes Maxlore. It's just Peanut on the edge. Will he make it in time? Alfari tanks up first. Ignar's there as well as he speeds around the map to help the team. But now it's about getting Maxlore out. Can they help him? Cosmic Radiance and Cataclysm down onto him. And SKT get one back, but it's traded right back. Retribution kill coming in for Hansama.
And they're going to be able to push down this turret as well here, making plays across the map. They pull off the dive. Faker escapes. The Misfits are getting a lot of gold back.
A little bit more damage onto the turret. Bang's going to have to be very careful with this positioning. As you said, Faker's still mid lane, and they're going to try to get some control there, but control of the map to Misfits. 2
towers now for Misfits here. Next one is that mid lane tower. Also have to remember, Rift Hell is still there, and Ignar at the moment, he's landing hooks left and right for this team.
This again.
And this is just a really nice dive from Misfits. They know they need to push the pace. You can't allow Huni to clear out this wave. Maxlore is on the roam up. They know Faker was pushed back to base. So Alfari tanking this up, holding the turret as long as he can before backing out. And Maxlore does get the kill there on Huni. SKT fully coming up to the top side. I will say that perhaps the Narco tanked one more shot, and that might have actually allowed Maxlore time to get out, but either way, really nice play.
It is Alfari's birthday. You don't tank tower shots on your birthday. He's okay stepping out there. This graph we showed in game 1, we want to show it again because this is exactly how we expected this matchup to look.
Right.
Misfits, the red line, getting ahead early game, but then tend to struggle in the late game. Same thing in this game, especially with the composition.
Exactly, and that's why we keep talking about pushing the pace, keep talking about extending your advantages, because what they have is not enough and will not carry them through to a victory in this game just yet. But the advantages they have now, when you look at this Tristana, backed up by this mid lane Karma, is going to be a lot stronger than Bang on the Kog'Maw, who's just sitting on a wit's end right now. So you need to continually take objectives, get what you can, crack open this mid lane, and then perhaps use that to threaten the inners or set up vision for this Blitzcrank.
Power Weevil not rushing Ardensense in the game here, going for a team instead. Very, very powerful when he actually gets to add utility to his team. It's going to be hard to kill anyone from SKT's side, because again, the shielding coming in will be fairly huge. The healing as well added on top of it.
And actually with that extra amp tome, he may just be going towards Luden's Echo, just getting that for the early power spike here. That is a build I've seen quite a lot from solo lane Karmas. It does delay your Ardent Sensor a lot as well, but we'll have to see what he decides to go for.
But just value his own above what Hansama will actually bring to the table just yet.
And to be fair, in the early and mid game, it's actually an incredible amount of burst with this Mantra Q coming out from the Karma, who has a lot of levels, if you do actually grab that Luden's Echo.
And we also see armor being stacked on Huni's side, so the extra AP damage from Power Weevil, of course, again, adds a bit of extra value right there, because otherwise it is all about Hansama's late game damage. Now,
damage spike here. Triforce for Faker in the mid lane. He's getting taunted back and forth as Power of Evil tries to play the lane horizontally. And that adds a little bit of effect to the fight. If you want to get in, you chase that mid laner down river instead of back to their turret. However, SKT just wants the bot side.
SKT are always trying to cross-map you when they're behind. They know there's a chance they can make a play.
Great hop by Alfari, but that's his distance. Can he gain any more? Just about to Mega Gnar, not in time. They shut him down.
Right here, we had a moment where Misfits were not applying pressure either mid or top lane just yet, and SKT saw an opening to make a play on the bottom side. Alfari was not ready for it, so he gets surprised by the amount of members showing up. Meanwhile now, though, Misfits are trying to get something mid.
SKT rotating back up. Teleport there for Huni.
You do have to be very careful, though. There's not actually a Tristana with them. So we have Hansama pushing on the top side, trying to knock down this turret, but we'll have to run pretty soon here.
A little bit of vision, as well as the Ignar wall just kind of right in the middle to block that sentry that Ignar can be for Hansama to get out safely. And it looks like they are going to be able to drop that now, 29,000 to 26, or 27.
And getting a tier 2 tower here, again, great for Misfits, allows them to push the lanes even deeper towards SKT. Easy access into the jungle. This mid lane tower will die fairly soon anyway. This is the moment we talk about. Look at the minimap. No lane is getting pressured right now by Misfits. So SKT say, okay, we can make the play. There's a small window here, and they go straight for Alfari.
And I think that's just Alfari accepting his death, because the only chance of getting value out of that flash is if you flash immediately. Right. He doesn't use it at all, so perhaps thinking there's just no way he could actually get out.
And it's these situations that are hard to play against, because you're not used to a team abusing that tiny little window to then suddenly go kill you in a side lane. Normally teams are sitting really far back on the map when they're this far down and there's a Blitzcrank on the other side. Alfari could easily have stepped away when he knew, okay, there are 3 guys missing, but he's overstayed.
And we do talk about playmaking, and having that flash available for a Meganar can be very powerful. And Misfits gonna group up. They already have this turret low.
And onto Wolf. If they can take the Cosmic Radiance down before it's used, that means SKT is gonna have to back off as well. Good focus, heal down for Wolf.
4 towers down here, good timing for Misfits. There's a Drake alive they can grab, and then they can soon get ready for the setup around Baron. They don't need to kill the Baron in the early game, but they gotta threaten it. So SKT move in to try and place wards, and then you hook them over the wall here from Ignar. He's been very good so far this game. He's been chain feeding his own AD carry, actually, and it's working.
And it's worth pointing out that Power of Evil just sat on the Amp Dome. He did get the Ardent Sensor, so this is going to be
He's a team player.
ultra-powerful Tristana. Hansama should be able to finish up his second item here, have that Shiv, have this powerful mid lane Karma at level 12, protecting him. And he's going to have opportunities to win this game, and it's going to come down to just how well can Hansama navigate it. Can Ignar continue finding these picks?
Oh, Hansama going a little too deep for his own good. Or Buster shot backwards, saves him from Peanut. That's also going to be the Cataclysm out, but the flash for Hansama's safety.
It's the exact same setup again. SKT know no one is currently pushing and threatening any turrets in either mid or top lane, so they rush to the bottom lane to find the one guy who might overextend. They did find Hansama. He did stay alive because of the flash and the ulti from Tristana itself, but that's a flash gone now, which might make Hansama hesitate a little bit in the future fights. Bang, though, on his side, is delaying his optimal damage right now by going Wits End first. I don't think he's against enough magic damage to really have to rush a Wits End, but again, he is respecting what Power Evil is doing and also what even the Blitzcrank can actually do with some of the early burst.
Yeah, and I think it's just simply a case of you can afford to build full defensive when you have a massively stronger late game comp, right? When you have this Kog'Maw along with the Corki, when you have this huge front line and this Taric to actually buff them up, as long as you are not falling insanely behind, as long as you are not instantly dying in these team fights, you can begin to take over. And when you have the Tabbies as well as the Wits End, that can sometimes bridge the gap to the Taric ultimate coming down. Just
makes Bang right now not a big threat that Misfits have to care about. And with Baron alive, with the fact you have Max Law, who is already sitting on quite enough armor on this Sejuani, he can actually tank the Baron. And it is a real possibility that Misfits can do it. And SKT knows this, so they have to fully invest in vision around the Baron to try and prevent Misfits getting an early big objective.
Faker towards the top side, Misfits ahead. Having trouble with Barons throughout the group stage here. Now knowing the priority they need to keep on the top side of the map because of what SKT
got Peanut!
Peanut can be able to flag and drag out. Quick silence coming in from Ignar. And it's going to be Hansama going forward, knowing they don't have Peanut for this fight. Faker's rotated back around, and they could.
Oh, Hansama's like a flash right there. Mendy couldn't actually flash in and kill Peanut. The jungler could have died straight away. Misfits, though, they're still looking towards the Baron. This is what we want to see. Constant threats around the big objective.
And Peanut is so low. If he comes over here, he could get burst down. Ignar's looking for the hook, but SKT is coming in.
This is going to be the back and forth. Peanut just on the outside. A quick shield coming in and a heal from Wolf. Baker's going to split the crew right through the uprights, and he's going to say, walk this way. The team's going to have to meet him on the other side. The cleanse comes out. That's the shot from Ignar. Taken down before Cosmic Radiance. The rest of the team is left wondering, and Misfits is looking at Baron.
I think they're going to call off the Baron. Maxlor is basing. They have Gnar in the bot lane. They know Huni came over, so they're just going to take their win and try to pressure a tier 2 turret. But Misfits is pressing. They are challenging SKT.
And they're using Ignar's Blitzcrank again. The first hook on to Peanut forces the jungler low. Then after the fight here, we see Faker trying to do everything he can to stop the Baron. He's trying to just force Misfits away from Nashor here, but instantly, you see the reaction. It's turn, kill Faker, and when he thinks he's safe, Ignar gets onto him. I love this play here first from Faker to stop the Baron from going down, and he thinks he's safe now. And then Ignar makes the big play.
Just so nice there from Ignar, knowing he needs to be able to get that, and Faker,
Shake it off.
unhappy with the results.
Welcome to the EULCS, baby!
It's exactly what Ignar was saying. Ignite still up for him, 0-0-5. Him in his bot lane, full kill participation.
Nice side step, they can turn this around. TV's coming in.
Very, very low. Wolf looking for the dazzle, but he couldn't get Bastion onto Huni, so it's not going to stop any of the damage. SKT is being picked apart.
Huni going way too far forward there. Doesn't have the team in his back pocket. Great side steps from Ignar. They're back on the Baron, but Peanut is alive. We'll see if they can actually navigate this. Ignar's going to be looking for hooks.
Alive and healthy, much more ready to go. He gets pulled in by not his own choice. Peanut goes down. There's no smite fight. Misfits are going to pick up Baron unless Faker hits the shot, and that's Maxlor's.
No smite, no feast for SKT. Misfits are playing the game of their lives right now. Massively ahead of SKT. They are pushing down mid lane with a super powerful Tristana looking to knock down inhibitor turrets.
And they're keeping the tempo going here. They're so aggressive with the way they're playing. As soon as Baron spawned, they had all the vision around it. They forced SKT to react, and they keep catching them.
Consistency and confidence. From game 1, they kept going forward. Game 2, they keep going forward. And SKT's base has been broken. 23 minutes in, Misfits delivering the same medicine.
Maxlor and Ignar, the alley-oop there, hits him with the Sejuani ult, perfectly setting up Ignar for the hook. The slam dunk comes in, taking out Faker, knocking down the inhibitor. And Misfits are looking so, so good.
If we take a step back to the group stages, when SKT fell this far behind, they were able to delay Barons. They were able to delay their base, getting broken into it. The inhib going down early. They could just keep stalling with defensive vision. This game now, 24 minutes into it, has already secured the Baron, already got the mid inhib, and SKT are trying to force a fight, but they're not ready to fight. They do not want to fight. They want to scale.
Yeah, there's no real need to go for this, and you know, that call is very, very questionable, whether it's the team telling Huni to engage or he thinking he can actually catch a carry and turn around a fight. They did not have the opportunities. This is not, you know, Wolf on Rakan looking for that epic team, but this is a Cho'Gath running forward and trying to knock someone up.
Rakan was available in the game here, but he wanted the Taric to avoid a Thresh counter pick. Instead, they get a Blitzcrank.
Control around the map for Misfits. SKT coming up on that point in the game when they're very good at turning around, very good at finding a way back in, but Misfits has closed those doors, it seems, so far. Alfari back towards the top side of the map, 4 towards the bottom as Baron is still on Misfits.
Critically, Bank does have his Rage Blade now, so his damage is going to go massively up with that completion, but Hansama is already on 3 items. They have no fear pushing forward, and this turret is going down incredibly fast.
Only thing they have to respect is if Hansama gets caught by the initial engage. But he is on Tristana with Flash. He can jump away from the Jarvan when he goes towards him and just stay safe in the back end. Keep hitting that damn turret.
Minions are not. Still trying to get the damage on. Hansama takes a bit of damage, but they break the second inhibitor turret of the game. And don't know if they want to go as far as that. They want pressure on Alfari first before they show a bit more in bot lane.
They're just playing it out so intelligently here. The push and pull with this Gnar, and Hansama super close to knocking down this turret, but he has taken some damage and trying to play respectful to the chance that SKT could engage.
Let's remind everyone that game 1 was 25 minutes long, and Faker
pulled straight from the Valkyrie from his package. Ultimate coming in from Maxlor. The inhibitor's broken and Hansama jumps forward. It is Alfari already coming in from the side of the map, and it looks like they are going to have positioning on the Nexus turret. Flash towards the fountain. Bang stays alive.
Going mega.
Very low and getting down, and it looks like Alfari in the back of the fight. He says, it's my birthday. I'm going to grab some kills, and that's going to be a pickup for Hansama. The Nexus is going to be open, and Misfits are going to find the victory in game 2.
Misfits from Challenger to the world stage, challenging SKT. Get destroyed in game one. Yes! Bounce back, making it that much more impressive. Faker looks mad. He is not happy with how that game went.
And really, that is the crazy thing, that game one was so one-sided. But suddenly we get the change here from Misfits. They ban away the Galio. They get rid of the Jays. They say, you know